Welcome, my friends, to another YouTube version of the BJJ Brick Podcast. I hope you enjoy the show, and if you do, please subscribe to the channel. So here we go.
Thank you for listening to the BJJ Brick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back to the BJJ Brick Podcast. This is episode 220. My name is Byron. I'm here with my buddy Gary. Gary, how you doing, my friend?
I am doing great. How about you, Byron?
Doing really good. This is the first episode of 2018. We're hitting the year hard this time, my friend. This time.
Yeah, we haven't hit the year hard for the last 2 years, so we're going to go and try to strangle it this year.
Start the year off by jumbling my words on the podcast, but we do have a really fun episode. Jess Munter is on the show this week. She is an adaptive athlete. She got a brachial plexus injury during birth, basically. She'll tell you her story better than I could ever. And she's doing jiu-jitsu. She's doing great at jiu-jitsu and very motivational as far as inspiring people to get on the mat. And a lot of people think that they probably couldn't get on the mat. Listen to Jess today, and if you have some friends that are considering it or a little shy about it, have them listen to Jess, and I think that'll be a great thing because it was awesome talking to Jess.
Yeah, definitely stay tuned. She's an incredible adaptive athlete, very inspirational, and it's going to, bring a smile to your face. You're going to feel better after listening to Jess talk.
Yeah, Gary and I were talking before the show, and really, I've learned a lot in the process of these years as we've been doing this show, and I definitely have changed my feelings toward jiu-jitsu, and it's become more of an off-the-mat benefit with... It's not really about learning how to defend myself or learning how to fight or jiu-jitsu even better. There's so many more things that jiu-jitsu is doing as I try to become the best I can at jiu-jitsu. And I see this over and over again with the people we interview and the people that I see on the mats. There's so many great things, and Jess is just a shining example of that. And also we have to offer a congratulations to Jess. The interview did it about maybe even 6 weeks ago, kind of up on our interviews. And in that time, she has since received her blue belt. So congratulations to Jess for getting her blue belt. I knew she was close because she was competing with some blues and doing very well against them. And now she's got the blue belt. So congratulations, Jess, from the BJJ Brick Podcast.
Definitely congratulations, Jess. Wear that new blue belt with pride. That's awesome.
Yep. And we have some other news. We got to bring it up here. I know Gary's not one to talk real highly of himself, and it's kind of an odd situation, but Gary received his brown belt a couple of weeks ago, since we've been recording, I guess. Maybe we missed a week, from me, and I've talked to a lot of my teammates about Gary, and a lot of Gary's guys, and it's been, I think as I've explained this more and more, I've gotten a little bit better at it, because ultimately I look at Gary and he just destroys me on the mat. Like, he can say no, but like if he turns it up, I'm in a ton of trouble. I'm a black belt. I've been a black belt for, I don't know, about 3 years or so. And I can't hang with Gary when it comes down to it. If we're both trying really hard, my goal is to slow him down. And so I'm looking at Gary. He's got a pro belt on for, I don't know how many years. How many years, Gary? 8 or 9? Gary's training has not been at all geared towards a belt. He trains with a group of his close friends, and they are all really good at jiu-jitsu, and that's kind of the situation he's in. None of them really big deal, the belt, or by process of elimination, they would have to go somewhere else, because Gary is pretty laid back on belts. Now, when his guys compete, he puts them in the proper place to get good matches. But here I look at Gary, and it's like, there's no way he's a purple belt, but I'm more of a friend and a teammate than I am. I'm not Gary's coach. I'm not that. But
I don't know about that.
Somebody has to do this, because it's clearly not. It's gone well past the time of Gary wearing a purple belt, and I was like, well, I guess it's me, fellow teammate, handing him a brown belt, which I was honored to do. but it's kind of awkward handing somebody a belt that's still lower than yours, and they could beat you up pretty good. But I've heard nothing but great things about Gary from everybody who knows him, and a lot of happiness in the community locally that Gary got that. He definitely doesn't train for the belt. He doesn't train a lot of gi. He put a gi on that day, and he rolls me, and he did great. So, but it's not been at all a priority to the fact to where I had to sneak it on him.
I probably wanted to shut up.
Yeah, but Gary, it was a fun day. I think a lot of your teammates were very happy for that, and everybody agrees it's been a long time. And if I, like I said, I felt like handing it to a friend or a teammate, not handing it to you as a coach, because that I've learned more from you over the past several years than you've picked up from me. But anyway, congratulations, Gary. Definitely late.
Yeah. No, but thank you. It's a definitely honor. If I want to get belts, coming from you, that's who I want to get it from. To be honest, I do consider you a teacher, an instructor, a professor for me. I have learned tons from you. You have no clue what I've learned from you. You were the one who, probably one of the guys who kept me going when I first started. I guess when we first started, not a lot of people showed anything, and you were better than me when we first started. Your learning curve, you took off. I was a slow learner, and you would show me stuff. You were the only one who would actually let me work a little bit, when you could have just beat me up. And you have showed me a lot, but even more, you have helped me with a lot of stuff, like just thinking about jiu-jitsu. We're all unique individuals. I'm a guy, I just want to train. I don't really want to drill that much. I don't really want to learn new stuff. I just want to perfect what I have. And, you opened my mind to a lot of different thoughts and make me explore different things. So, I know you don't feel that way, but, you are probably one of my biggest inspirations to in this sport. So, I appreciate it. And it's an honor to get a brown belt under you, Byron. So thank you very much.
Yep, and I would have done it like 4 or 5 years ago if I would have been thinking. But anyway,
you surprised me.
I did.
I had no clue.
Yeah, that, like I said, you probably wouldn't have showed up that day. We've been, and one of the things, we've been trained at the same building for, I don't know, 10 or 12 years. This big building where the law enforcement trains, and they let us come in there and help them and train with them on the weekend, and it's been a great bonding place, and it won't be long and that place will be moved. And I thought, man, we got to do it at the old place, because that just has so many great memories and so many good times, and so many people that have gone through there and learned jiu-jitsu from Gary and had a lot of good times. I never thought,
I didn't think about that, but that's awesome. Yeah, because really the memories are incredible there. The people I've met there, and the training I've got there is unparalleled.
Gary, we are on a new year, as we mentioned already, and I was reflecting about goals and thinking of kind of like the off-the-mat lesson and bringing that onto the mat. I don't really believe in doing New Year's resolutions, and I know you could probably find a earlier podcast where we probably talked about them and really set some or something. I'm sure I did. But anymore, if I figure out a goal and it's December 20th, I used to start the goal right then. If there's a goal worth doing, don't wait to start it. Do it now. And so same thing. If it's, you're probably not listening to this on January 1st. I don't think it'll even be out by then. But I don't know what day is Monday. But it doesn't matter. The calendar doesn't care. Start if you have a goal that's worthwhile, start it right away. And I do have a new goal that just started a week or so ago, and it's been going good, and it's helped keep me grounded. And it's a goal that I don't know a lot of people that have. And it was about a week and a half ago. I purchased one of those bracelets, and you think about like the classic like Live Strong yellow bracelet that supports some cause. Not Live Strong. It's supporting one of my teammates has a kid that has cancer. Nothing more difficult and challenging than that. and the teammate comes in and he trains about twice a week, and I think it's a great place for him to just escape for a little while as they're dealing with this as a family. It's just a opportunity just to change and to help keep himself kind of grounded, I guess. And it's impossible to understand what's happening in his head and in his family. Like, I've never been in that situation. I can't pretend to imagine that. But he had little bracelets that show support, and I say yes. I would like to wear one of these. I never really wear a bracelet before. I wear a watch, but got a bracelet, put it on, and I look at it sometimes, and I reflect about how really how fortunate I am and how much I'm pulling for this family to have a great outcome. And a couple days go by, and I kind of come up with the idea, I have no right to complain about anything in my life. So my, not New Year resolution, because it's been going a couple weeks before New Year's, but my thing that I've been doing is I don't complain. I don't complain about anything. I try my best not to. And I've told my wife, if you catch me complaining, tell me, and I will take that bracelet off my right hand and put it on my left. And that act, it really calls attention to myself. Here I'm complaining about something that's that stupid, because I have nothing to complain about. Really, I don't. Compared to, it could be much.
It almost sounds like you're complaining that you have nothing to complain about, Byron.
Okay, I'll maybe move the bracelet. But it's just a simple thing that a goal that I've noticed that, sure, everybody complains. But if I can catch myself saying it, and then I could not say it and take it back, that it takes away some of the power of the negativity of the complaint if you don't say it. So if I think of something negative, I definitely don't want to say it. If you say something negative, you definitely don't want to do something negative. These actions kind of get bigger as they go. So that's just been my, I could say New Year's resolution, but really the thing I've done most recently to have a positive effect on my life and to really reflect on how good things are going.
Byron, I was kind of, like what you said, I've never made a New Year's resolution. I was a guy, like you said, that just did a resolution when I felt like doing something, changing a behavior. I didn't care what date it was, I did it. 3 years ago, here, I made a New Year's resolution. I've never made one before, but I actually started it, I think it was December 10th or 11th. I decided I was going to stop drinking pop. And it was something that I drank a lot of, and you know that, Byron. I drank a lot of. I'd come over to your house and either have a pop of my own or like, hey, Byron, you got one. And that's what I did. And, I think it's a terrible habit. I really like to drink it. But that was the only time I've ever made a New Year's resolution. Even though I started early, I decided like December 10th I was going to do it. And instead of waiting because I figured if I wait, I was going to drink as much as possible in those next 20 days and, kind of almost like stock up. So I just stopped that day. But I still considered a New Year's resolution because that was kind of the thought behind it. And, here I am 3 years and never touched one. So, it was weird because I never thought I'd do a New Year's resolution. And but I did it that year, and it's made a big difference in my life. So, if you have a New Year's resolution and, maybe you don't want to start it till New Year's because you want to eat a little bit or whatever. But, it's good to start it like when Byron said, start it when you think about it. Don't worry about the day. But, even if you do start it on New Year's and you eat for a week before you do it, man, at least just start it. And, let's get some good habits and try to keep to our resolutions.
There we go. Gary, I remember you saying that you were done drinking soda pop, and I'm like, man, okay. And you're still doing it, man. I can't believe it. I mean, I think I can remember you coming in with like a 32-ounce cup and rolling with that as your beverage.
That was it, too. I would take a break and drink some Mountain Dew. That was crazy. But that's kind of what I used to do. And in these 3 years, I did have one sip, but it was by mistake. Me and my daughter were at a restaurant, and she was drinking some Sprite or something, and I had water, and I grabbed the wrong cup and put it in my mouth and spit it out like you wouldn't believe. It scared me. I didn't know what I was drinking. But yeah, I just had to, I used to always try to quit, and I would, allow myself to have one when I go out to eat or something, and that would lead to one that day, and then I would get right back on the horse. So I just had to quit cold turkey, and now I just drink water and green tea. That's about it.
Man, I'm impressed.
Thank you, Byron. Speaking of impressed, I know all of our listeners will be impressed with Byron's audiobook, the first year of BJJ. How you like that, Byron?
Oh, that's a segue and a half right there.
Yeah, yep. Basically, Byron's audiobook, your first year in BJJ, it's only $11.99, and it is 2.5 hours of content. It's basically like this podcast with Byron walking you through the first year, what you're going to see your first year, how to, progress, better better that first year, how to get the most out of your first year in jiu-jitsu, which in turn will hopefully make you stay in the sport and make you keep going. It's one of my favorite things is kind of like what Byron was talking about a little bit earlier, the benefits of jiu-jitsu, and a lot of people just think of the self-defense aspects, the rolling aspects, arm bars, the chokes, the leg locks, the heel hooks, but in all reality, a lot of great stuff. You're going to lose weight. How many people have been rolling that don't take medicine anymore? They may have started when they been taking medicine when they first started, and they've lost weight. It's just some great stories. Confidence is a huge thing, and you'll hear about that. With our guest Jess here today too. Confidence is just unbelievable, and that's. In my opinion, that's the one thing that jiu-jitsu has done the most for me. And not confidence that I can walk down the street, pull guard, and choke somebody out. It's more of confidence that I don't care what happens to me in a given day. Nothing is going to be tougher than what I've felt on the mat. I can conquer anything. Jiu-jitsu has given me the tools to succeed in life. And I've played a lot of sports and done a lot of stuff, and nothing has affected me as much as jiu-jitsu has, in my life. So definitely check it out. We have a link to it in the show notes, and I think you'll love it. And they make great New Year's gifts.
There you go, and help you do those resolutions if it's to do jiu-jitsu.
Bruce Lee. What do you think about Mr. Lee, Byron?
I'm a fan of Bruce Lee. Wish there was a way to get him on the podcast, Gary, but
we could get his quote.
Yeah.
What Bruce Lee said, a fight is not won by one punch or kick. Either learn to endure or hire a bodyguard. But once again, a fight is not won by one punch or kick. Either learn to endure or hire a bodyguard. Byron, do you have a bodyguard?
No, I'm going with the more affordable method of learning to endure. And not make a lot of people want to attack me anyway. But yeah, I think in jiu-jitsu, it forces you to learn to endure, because even if you submit somebody real quick and you're training, so what? Slap hands and do it again. Like, it's not a one-time deal. I think kind of it's looking at some martial arts where they think they could do it like a magic punch, and just suddenly, okay, that guy's almost dead. He's going to be in the hospital for 3 weeks. Next guy, but really. Self-defense fighting, it's an ugly business. It's a business. It's an ugly thing. You're gonna get bloodied up. It's gonna be an uncomfortable thing. You're gonna have to learn how to endure, and that's what training does. That's one of the beauties of jiu-jitsu. I also think here in Wichita we had a police and fire boxing matches. I didn't get involved in that. I'm definitely not a boxer. Have you seen my nose? It's huge. Anyway, I don't like getting hit in the head either, or in the body for that matter. But kind of a wimp. But basically, there were two different training camps, one for the police, one for the fire. The fire guys got together and they basically fought every time. They got beat up. A lot of them got injured. Some of them had to drop out. And the police learned how to box. They were doing different techniques. And they were learning, jab cross, and they were hitting pads and mitts. And really, the fire guys did way better. I'm not just saying this. I think they lost 1 out of 10 matches. And because they had been in fights every time they had gone and trained. And some of the police, it was like the first time getting into a boxing fight. And they're like, oh, this isn't what I anticipated. And just like they were learning to endure environment of a boxing match, much like you endure a rough jiu-jitsu roll, or if you're getting in a street fight altercation, you're going to have to endure a little bit before it's all over.
You know what was funny about that is I saw some bantering back and forth on Facebook after that was over. And, like you said, from what I'd heard, the firefighters had won the majority of them. But I did hear one police officer say the firefighters won not because of, because of the training. Like you said, they did endure better training. But you guys can train on the job during slow times, and they couldn't, so I did hear some excuses. Oh, well. But, yeah, that's an awesome quote there by Bruce Lee. Once again, a fight is not won by one punch or kick. Either learn to endure or hire a bodyguard.
And we didn't cover the other half of it.
Expensive.
Yeah, the bodyguard is the other option, Gary.
Yeah, and that's expensive.
If you look at Gary, everywhere he goes, there's two large guys wearing sunglasses with earpieces in. He doesn't want to learn to endure. He hires these guys.
Yeah, it's easier that way.
Well, that wraps up the quote, and I think it's time to get on with the interview with Jess Munter. He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
Working with a group of scientists, I attempted to train a group of leeches to drain cauliflower ear. This project ultimately failed because all things I trained end up giving cauliflower ear, not taking it away. As a teenager, I got fired from my pizza delivery job because I kept offering free pizzas if you could tap me out. Nobody ever tapped me out, but I got many complaints about not following IBJJF rules. I had to get congressional approval before entering a tournament. I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BJJ Brick podcast. Stay sweaty, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm happy to bring Jess Munter to the BJJ Brick podcast. Jess, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on here with me. I'm really excited. Got a recommendation from our friend Brian Freeman. He's been on the show a couple of times, and a very great person to have on the show. Interesting, motivational, and I just like keeping up with Brian as he's progressing in the martial arts and continuing to have success in his journey. And he messaged me and said, "Hey, you got to talk to Jess." And we've been messaging back and forth a few times, and here we are, Jess. Could you just do me a little favor and just, because I really don't know you that well either, kind of introduce yourself to me and maybe the audience as well?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Jessica Munter. I go by Jess. I am 20 years old, going to college. I work 2 jobs. I train every second I can. And I have a brachial plexus injury to my left arm.
Could you maybe dumb that down a little bit for me, Jess, as far as what that actually means for your arm and what's going on there? Yeah,
no problem. Okay, sorry, I always forget
That's
that.
okay. I don't mind calling myself dumb on the show. I do it all the time.
So brachial plexus injury is basically nerve damage. So you have 4 nerves that run from your head to your shoulder on both sides. Those are called the brachial nerves. They run under your collarbone. And so when I was born, the doctor kind of pulled my head too far to the wrong side and snapped those nerves. And so they haven't been able to heal. I've had surgeries, nerve transplants to kind of build that connection back up. So it grows a little bit. Still, I have very, very, very limited motion and range in this. It doesn't grow very, very well. So it's smaller. It's stuck at a couple of weird, funky angles, like in my elbow and my wrist. So arm bars are pretty gnarly. And it's kind of hard to explain without me actually showing you what my arm looks like. But so my elbow, with thanks to physical therapy throughout my whole life, it's stuck at kind of like 140 degree angle. So it can't extend 140 degrees without it breaking. And then there is 0 muscle strength in my wrist, so it kind of just flops back. That's actually pretty good for wrist locks because, you can't wrist lock it if it doesn't have any muscle or bone structure into it, right?
Yeah. Okay. So this happened at birth. It was during the actual birthing process. Like you, as a fetus, you were fine, and as you were born, the doctor kind of pulled on you the wrong way and damaged your nerves. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's correct.
Wow. Okay. Obviously, since day one, you've had this, and now you're doing jiu-jitsu. Is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
How long have you been training?
I have been training 2.5 years now.
Did you try other sports or physical activities before you got on the mats and tried jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, in early high school, I tried out softball because, my family's very active, and I thought maybe that's something I could do. That turned out that went not so well.
So what in softball were you able to do, or how did that go?
So since I can't use my left hand, I got a right-handed mitt, or, just the catching mitt that went on your right hand. And so I was good at throwing since my right arm is strong. So they had me in outfield so I can catch the ball and then throw it. The only problem is my transition from catching the ball in my mitt, taking my hand out of the mitt, picking up the ball and throwing it back. That took too long. So, that wasn't very good. Hitting was kind of hard. I had to learn how to maneuver my bat one-handed. That made my wrist very strong, though, so I have a very strong grip in my right hand. It just didn't go very well. Not good at catching, transitioning, so that just kind of ended around my junior year.
And why did you choose softball? We don't need to get real deep in this, but why opposed to like something like soccer or something like that?
My mom actually coaches softball, and so she really encouraged me to get into it. Plus, with soccer, I am very clumsy on my feet. I cannot run. I will trip over my own self.
Well, well, good thing you have jiu-jitsu because you don't need to run or throw a ball. So, yeah, we don't run, and if you're listening to this and you don't really know much about jiu-jitsu, a lot of times we start off and people just sit down, as weird as that is, but you'll have very competitive athletes who are like some of the best people in the world will start a match by literally sitting down, and that seems weird, but it's kind of like you're getting into a position that you're comfortable in or that you're wanting to perform from. So, kind of not great results in softball. You said you kind of gained some strength in your wrist, so I guess that's a plus. Was it more frustrating than you think it was worth?
Oh, yes. I would remember just getting very upset after each practice or after each game. I would feel pretty bad about myself when, my coach wouldn't put me out onto the field. And I totally understood why they didn't want to, but it just made me feel like, there was something wrong with me when that wasn't really the case. It's just, limited access to what I could do.
Eventually, I think you said you're about 20 years old, and you found jiu-jitsu about 2.5 years ago. So maybe, were you in high school still when you started training jiu-jitsu?
I was. So I live in Washington State, and we have what's called a Running Start program. And so I actually started college when I was still a senior, and that's when I found jiu-jitsu.
Okay. And how did you stumble upon jiu-jitsu?
Well, I've known about jiu-jitsu my entire life. My uncle teaches and trains Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo. And so, that's kind of been around my whole life. I just didn't like it, or I thought I wouldn't like it. I just saw a bunch of sweaty guys rolling around. My uncle tried to get us involved in it. When I say us, my sister and my cousins, he tried to get us all to train. But I just made the same excuses everyone else makes today. I can't do it. I'm not strong enough. Or in my case, my arm won't let me do it. And so that's why I never did it. So when I went to college, there was a self-defense class going on. And I thought maybe this would be a good place to learn how to do some self-defense. I was the only one that showed up. And the two guys that were teaching it, Jeremy Seta and Luis Alvarez, are actually now my coaches. I asked them how they came upon teaching self-defense, and they said, we train and teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm like, oh, okay, I know what that is. So I'll learn what you can teach me. And since I was the only one there, they spent almost 3 hours just going really in depth and helping me adapt techniques, like if I was attacked. And I just kind of really liked it. I liked, learning how to defend myself. And so afterwards, Luis kind of invites me to go to his gym. He's like, hey, if you want, you can always come to my gym in Ephrata. He told me where it was, and then I showed up the next day. I think I caught him off guard. I don't think he was expecting me to show up at all. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Looking back, does this surprise you about yourself, or is it something that you could kind of see yourself doing?
Oh no, this was very out of character for me back then. With my arm, I was bullied a lot, so I was shy. My self-esteem was non-existent. I'm still pretty awkward right now, but it was a lot worse back then. And so I don't really know why I did it, but I'm very glad that I did.
Yeah, well, that's good. So am I. It's maybe, and I obviously wasn't there, but the relationship that was developed in that self-defense class, it was like you saw the environment that the type of a class it was going to be, and just thought that it'd be something for you as far as the type of class that they were going to run, the type of sport or martial art this is, and you thought, hey, I should look into this a little bit further.
Yeah.
So 2.5 years. Take me back to like the first month or so.
All right, so the first month, I didn't have a gi. I was just rolling in old t-shirts and some yoga pants that I bought. I remember going in or wearing my sliding shorts from softball once because, I didn't have any spats. I was very unfit. Gosh, I was very intimidated. I was the only girl in there, except for one girl. Her name's Gisela. She's on our team, but she's away for university. So she really helped me out the first month. She kind of introduced me to everyone. She rolled with me when I was uncomfortable to roll with the guys. She basically showed me around, so I'm very grateful that she was there. But afterwards, this was around the holidays, so when my family all got together, I told my uncle that I was starting to get into jiu-jitsu, and he got very excited. He bought me a gi that night, and that kind of, yeah, he bought me my first gi, my belt that came with it, and that's kind of, after I got the gi, I'm like, all right, well, now I got to stick with it, I can't waste $120 that he spent for this.
That's funny. And your uncle wanted you to try martial arts or jiu-jitsu earlier on, and maybe that was similar to your mom wanting you to do softball, as in you felt like as a family member thinking you could do something, and maybe you didn't think you could do it. But when you met the strangers and they were positive and encouraging, it came from an outside source, and maybe that had a little bit different weight to it as far as these people don't really know me, they don't really care about me, but they're telling me that I can do it. Does that make sense, or am I just seeing something?
Yeah, no, that's really hitting home. That's exactly what happened.
So, and that's unfortunate because the people who are closest to us want what's best for us, but sometimes it does take a stranger or somebody who may not see you tomorrow, and I'm going to tell you this advice. Even though I'm not going to see you tomorrow, or I will tell you this. I'm going to share with you this little bit about what jiu-jitsu is, and take it or leave it. And you took it, and it seems like it's had a great impact from basically having no athletic background to now you're on the mats as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, I actually just came from the mats.
So you are a full-time student?
Yes.
And you just say you have 2 jobs?
Yep, I'm working 2 jobs.
So how much time nowadays do you get to train?
I'm very thankful that my coaches came together to actually teach a PE class on our campus. It's basically just a fundamentals class, but I actually signed up for it. And so that way I get to ensure that I train at least twice a week when I can. And then I asked my bosses, if possible, to have Tuesdays and Thursday nights off, because that's when most classes are for my gym. And so I actually have tonight off, and that's where I will be tonight.
All right. It's, part of everyone's jiu-jitsu is figuring out when to fit jiu-jitsu into the rest of your life. It sounds like you've done that quite well.
Yep. It's challenging sometimes, but it's doable.
Jess, what are you studying?
Well, right now I'm just whittling away my associate's degree, my general education, and then I plan to transfer to university next fall quarter, to study psychology, to become a counselor for disabled children.
Wow, that is an awesome goal. And, looking way back in the interview, like 4 minutes ago, we were talking about how sometimes a stranger, that your jiu-jitsu coach, before you actually met them and got to know them, had that positive impact on your life because it wasn't somebody who was a family, and they weren't trying to just help you by giving you like a false encouragement. And I think that's a great path for you to meet a bunch of kids that are struggling in similar situations that you were in, and be that person time and time again.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that I can be that person. I wanted to be that person, especially since, when I was a child and going through counseling and stuff, I felt they didn't have a strong connection with me. They didn't really understand what I went through, so I couldn't open up to them. So I know my disability isn't going to be the same for every child, but if they can see that I can relate on at least 1% of a little spectrum, or understand a little bit of what they're going through, then maybe they'll feel more comfortable to open up and getting that help. Looking
back, did you have much counseling that was good, or maybe a person that was good for you, but they did differently, or any sort of positive? Or was it all pretty frustrating?
It was all fairly frustrating. Just because I was very stubborn, I thought nobody understood what I was going through. And I jumped from counselor to counselor a lot, and I think that had a fairly negative impact just because I couldn't get attached to one person, and my parents kind of just said, oh, this isn't working, time to try another person,
Jess, by the time you get through school and all your training, you could be the counselor with mats in the room instead of a comfortable chair, and they could you could teach them that physical confidence goes so far emotionally as well. Yeah, I was actually thinking about that. If for example, like if I have my black belt by the time I finish my residency, maybe I can open up a gym and do like a counseling jiu-jitsu combination kind of thing. Who knows? Yeah, definitely possible, and that would be a great way to help a lot of people. What off-the-mat benefits have you received from jiu-jitsu? Oh, so much. I am a more positive person. I suffered through depression majority of my life, still kind of struggle with it today, but as I continue with jiu-jitsu, I just see that depression like just whittling away time after time. I don't have much anxiety anymore. It's not as strong, not as persistent. I am more organized, surprisingly. I don't know if that's from jiu-jitsu or just from growth, but I am more balanced. Like I'm not as clumsy as I should say. I can stand on one foot without falling over, the typical thing, but I can actually run straight now. So that's a big improvement for me. And you mentioned having a difficult time running and not considering soccer. Does this? I know it affects your arm. Does it also affect your ability to run? Oh, yes. I guess I should have mentioned that. Because of my arm the way it is, the nerve muscles don't really reach into my shoulder. So on the left side of my back, there's hardly any muscle growth. So I have pretty bad scoliosis. So I'm just kind of leaning to my right side more often. And so I kind of tend to fall over my right side. And I think they tried to balance that out because for my nerve transplants, they took nerves out of my right leg. And so sometimes there's little spasms, like connection just doesn't go through all the way to my right leg. It's all trip a lot. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. I didn't know that the soccer troubles were actually related. I thought you just, were explaining that you weren't a good runner. So that makes more sense that way. I want to get to jiu-jitsu here. Tell me about maybe some of your favorite techniques or what you like to do on the mat. Well, I love working with my legs because my legs are super strong right now. So my favorite position to be in is in guard. I have a fairly strong guard game, I believe. A lot of people have a hard time passing my guard, and
there's just a lot of fun things that I like to do from there. Triangles are my favorite submission. And I'm starting to really fall in love with arm bars, especially. I learned this pretty cool one from the back take that I'm kind of obsessed with right now. I try to get that in every time I can.
Are you playing like a closed guard?
Yes. Closed guard, open guard. My closed guard's better, obviously, but I like to play both.
Okay. And do you prefer, like setting up your triangles, are you using a collar grip or a sleeve grip, or how are you doing that?
I'm using more of a collar grip. Like I said earlier, my grips in my right hand are very strong. And so I like to get a cross collar, pull it in, and then my left arm, I can lift it up somewhat. And so usually with an opponent that doesn't know me, I will plop down my arm on top of their head so they think that I'm going to be doing something. So they're distracted with that while I slide my knee out to set up a triangle. Nice.
The distraction is a nice thing to use. Make them think one thing and do something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also like to pretend that my left hand is making a grip. I will, if I can do this, it's kind of tricky to put this in with a limited time frame, but I will feed the sleeve over to my left hand from my right hand.
Yeah.
And I'll just kind of tuck it and roll it around my fingers so it looks like it's gripping, but it's not, and just kind of hold that to my side while I use my right hand to get something else. That way, my opponent is distracted by trying to break that grip, but it's not really a grip at all. I like to play little tricks like that.
Yeah. So have you competed much?
Yeah. I'm kind of obsessed with competing, really. My latest tournament was actually in California with the SJJIF Para Jiu-Jitsu Championship.
And I'm staring at a picture right now of you at that tournament. How did it go? For the people that can't see that.
As you can see from my picture, it went very well. I won, and I got first place. That was very exciting for me.
Any details about the match or anything to say about that? Was it pretty fun? Or?
Oh yeah, my experience was totally fun. I guess this was the very first para competition that the SJJIF had, and so I was very excited when I found that out. So there weren't that many competitors for that division. As you can see, there was only one other girl I had to compete against for the female division. But when I first got there and after I weighed in, I was just looking at the other people warming up on the mats, and they were all guys. And they were all big guys, twice my size, and I thought, oh man, am I going to have to, compete against them? So that was a bit nerve-wracking. And I just had to, remind myself that I was like, oh wait, all my teammates are these size guys with, both working hands and stuff. But after we were about to line up, this girl comes up and says, yeah, I'm going to compete you. I beat myself up because I can't remember her name, and she was such a sweetheart, and I want to reach out to her and, become friends, but I can't remember her name. But so she's a blue belt. And when I saw that, I, again, got very intimidated, got very nervous, very anxious. I'm like, oh my gosh, she is going to beat me. She's going to beat me up real good. And then, she started talking. She's really friendly. And then I told myself, like, oh, this is just going to be another friendly match, like we have at the gym. And so I kind of went in with that mentality. This is just another roll. And then, she got the takedown. She did a really good job keeping me down. And she was leading on points. And somehow I was able to take her back. And I just kind of held on, and I saw the clock. There's only a minute left. And so I'm trying to, get something into this. And so I go for a collar choke. And I get the choke, but I fall to my side. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is not going to work. I'm going to lose the choke. And so we're both on her side. She's kind of struggling to get out. I'm gripping it with my right hand. And so that's when I kind of remembered this really silly and sloppy choke I like to do in the gym. I have the collar, we're on our side, and I just tuck my left leg around her head and I kick out. And I got the choke that way. And that's how I won.
I think we could all, anybody who's competed has walked around the mats like, who am I going to get? And looking around and getting nervous, especially early on in the competition career. That's a super common thing to do. I remember doing that a lot. And from my experience, you can't look at somebody and decide that that's going to be the person, because it never is. It's always somebody that you wouldn't expect, or they're sitting in the corner with headphones on and you didn't see them. It's so I think that that's something that many people do, is they look around and try to guess who they're going to have to match with. And just like you, I did the same thing. I look around and see these big guys, like, man, that guy looks mean, and look at him warming up. It looks like an animal. And sure enough, that's, maybe, but sometimes it wasn't, sometimes it wasn't. But that's a real common thing, I think. And then, you get matched up with a blue belt. You're, and the beauty of that is, you guys are there to test yourselves. You don't want something that's going to be an easy thing. And so it maybe at the time you would have had to, push the easy button. I'll take an easier match, please. But you tested yourself, and you really stood up to that test very well, and you had a great experience. You were down by points. She was really good. She was really taking it to you, and you took an opportunity that was presented to you, and you got the choke. So that's a lot of little lessons there in one tournament.
Ah, man, it was such an experience. And just as you were saying, with this is the place to test yourself, I was very excited just because of that reason. In all the tournaments I compete against girls who are, have all 4 functioning limbs and are fully able to, do every single jiu-jitsu move that they can possibly learn without having to adapt it to a certain limitation, if you know what I mean. So I got very excited to be able to test my limit against another girl who had the same or a very similar disability to what I had. And so I think that was what I was most excited for when I signed up for this tournament.
So you've competed before this?
Yes.
And was your experience positive, negative, or lessons learned, or were they a lot of fun? Tell me about those tournaments.
All of what you just said, I them all. My very first tournament, I competed just 2 months into jiu-jitsu. I only had one gi, the gi that my uncle bought me, and I came to the mats one day, and my teammates, they're all just saying how excited they were for this tournament, how they're all signing up for it, and I'm like, oh, what's that? And I'm like, oh, well, we're going to compete in Tacoma in a couple of weeks, for the Revolution tournaments. You should come. I'm like, oh, no, I probably shouldn't. I've only been doing this for barely 2 months. I know nothing. And they're like, well, that's, how you get started. Just sign up. You'll compete. You'll have fun. We'll go out for dinner afterwards. I'm like, all right, sure. I'll sign up then. And so I signed up, and I lost, of course. But it was such a fun experience. It was very awe-inspiring, I think. It just kind of lit this fire that hasn't gone out just yet, and I hope it never does go out. But I lost pretty bad, but it was so much fun. The girls I went against, they're all higher level. I was fairly new, but they taught me a lot, and I learned a lot from their other coaches. You know how you're coaching someone, you're yelling at them what to do, what not to do. And so I kind of picked up on that, and I learned a lot of techniques in such a short amount of time from the other people around. And I think that's what I really like about competing, just how much you learn out of the experience. And then, so that was my first tournament. My second tournament was with the same organization. I ate a lot, so I decided to go up a weight class so I didn't have to cut the 5 pounds. Silly me. But gosh, that just a few pounds really makes a difference. So I usually compete in the 115-pound range. So with gi, you're at 118 pounds. And so I went up to the 119 to 129, I want to say, or 129. So it was 119 to 129. And I weighed in exactly at 119 that day. And it's like, really? I could have just lost a pound earlier this day. But, oh gosh, anyways. And so I was going against the girls who, cut 10 pounds to be in that weight class. And so they were very, very big, and I was very, very intimidated. I won the first match, actually, in that category. So that was very encouraging. However, I lost the next one pretty bad to an armbar that kind of put me out for a while. It kind of torqued my elbow. It didn't hurt that much, but you can just feel when something's not really right in your tendons, And so had to sit out a little bit, let that heal. And then I competed again. at in the same category I was beforehand, in the 115 range, and I lost again. I think I've been competing or training at this point for maybe a year and a half or something like that. And I just remember getting very hurt, like emotionally hurt, because I lost and I was training so hard to do this. I thought maybe I can be that person to, go up on the podium and be like, look what I can do, with my one hand. But I lost. And I lost by points, so I hung out with the 5 minutes. And I think that's why it emotionally hurt me so much, is because I just lost by 1 point, But, my coach, he just kind of gave me this little motivational speech afterwards. He's like, Jess, you're not sad because you lost. You're sad because it's, like, not fair. And I'm not saying that it's not fair. I mean, life's not fair. But, those girls had an advantage over me. They trapped my good arm. I couldn't do a lot. But you stuck through it. You won because you couldn't get tapped out. And so I think that really helped me. Just kind of encouraged me to keep competing and to keep training.
Sounds like you got a good coach that knows when to give you a little support.
Oh yeah, Luis is great. He helps me out with so much more than just jiu-jitsu. He's like a life coach, actually. So
something I kind of picked up on maybe more in your first tournament, maybe just explained it a little bit better, but you viewed it as an experience, not as a match. And I think that's a huge thing that is going to is important for everybody. If you train for 2 months to do a tournament, you go out there and it's 3 minutes long, and then okay, that's it. I lost, or I won, whatever, and that's it. And you pack up and you go home. That's a lot of time, energy, focus, heart and blood, sweat, tears, that sort of thing, dedicated to like 4 minutes of activity. But if you view the whole thing as an experience with your team, or, if the traveling and getting to meet new people, like you talk about that, the person who you competed with in your most recent tournament is a really nice person. You wish you knew her name. But so you made some relationship there, and maybe you'll see her again in a different tournament. But there's so much more that can be gained than just the actual match. Yes, the match is important, and yes, you want to perform well, but view it as an experience, as a big thing, not just as today's my match. No, today is tournament day, and the prep is a big part of it as well. You're gaining a lot during the preparation part. So I think your first tournament, I think, it sounded like you really had that as, going to go out to eat with later on and hang out, and you learned a lot. Those are all great things as far as getting a lot more out of a tournament than just a single match.
Totally, yeah. No, and I love the food afterwards. I really like to eat, and so my team, we always go out to Famous Dave's after our local and we just pick out. It's really fun. Yeah,
that sounds like a good little tradition there. As you're explaining these tournaments and telling me like some details of your matches, I get imagine that you feel pretty safe training with your team. You got to know these people, and you get to trust them. But when you go compete with somebody you don't know, a little more intensity, and they don't know you from anybody else, and they really want to win, so it's a little bit more intense. Are you concerned about like not being able to tap out if that arises? If I'm armbarring your right arm, are you concerned about that, or do you verbally tap when you need to, or do you tell the referee beforehand, hey, watch out for me, or what's going on as far as that goes?
Well, my right arm is actually the good arm.
Okay.
So
but don't worry about that. If I'm arm barring your good arm, are you able to tap out with some other way? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I usually verbally tap.
Okay.
That's usually my go-to, just because people don't feel your tap, or see your tap, or if I can't verbally tap, like if someone's choking me and I can't use my hands, I'll stomp my foot. So basics. But I get very scared about my left arm, because if it extends the angle where it's fused at, it will break instantly. It's very brittle, very very brittle bones, very weak. It's hard to defend. So I really try to just tuck my arm into my side and try to not let anyone have it. I do tell the ladies that I compete against beforehand about my arms, like, hey, this is the situation about my arm. If you armbar it, it will break. So I ask if you do decide to attack it, just go slow so I have enough time to tap. I don't ask them to, not attack the arm, because that wouldn't be really fair for them. I just ask that they go slow so I have time to respond.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move, and hopefully, from what I've seen, the people that are doing jiu-jitsu have a lot of respect for each other, and nobody wants to get hurt out there or hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm. You
started training. I guess we'll rewind a little bit. You had another girl to train with for a while, and eventually you had to start training with the guys. Is that correct?
Yeah, her name's Gisela. She's such a sweetheart. We haven't seen her on the mats a while. I mean, that's just because she went off to university, so she's like 3-4 hours away from us. But yeah, so she was fairly new when I started training, so I just felt more comfortable rolling with her. And then when she went away for university, I was just stuck with the guys. I still am the only girl on the mats. A couple other girls have peeked in and out, but none of them really stayed, if that makes sense. But I think that just really helps me get comfortable with strangers, especially with guys, since that's who I can only roll with right now. But those guys are like my brothers. They like to pick on me, tease me, and they just help me every step of the way. They'll put me in weird positions, and they'll be like, all right, how do you get out of this? They'll help me learn different techniques and stuff like that. Just basic friendly teammates.
That's good. Was the transition difficult for you to starting to train with the guys, or was that something that you found a couple of the guys that you're more comfortable with and started working with them first?
Yeah, I really clung to a couple of different guys. I really clung to my coach, Luis. I clung to my teammate. His name's Chewy. Chubbs. His name's Victor. Scott. Freddie, Frankie, and Pancho. They all kind of took me under their wing. So I really clung to them until I began to get comfortable to roll with other people. And now it's kind of funny. Whenever there's new people coming in, Luis always sends them to me to roll with first. So
that's a good sign for you. It tells me you're doing good.
Yeah.
He's not worried about you.
Yeah, no, and I'm also kind of glad to be that person to kind of, help someone get a little bit more comfortable being on the mats and rolling with strangers.
Yeah.
Especially new women coming in.
Well, cool. I'm sure that you'll build the program as the months tick by. Obviously people check out lots of different things, and lots of people come in and check out jiu-jitsu. Some people decide it's not for them, and some people like you really fall in love with it and stick with it. But a lot of that is the people that they're with. You would have picked 2 other coaches to teach that self-defense seminar. You might not have been interested. You might have got kind of a different vibe from them, or you may not have liked their style. And so, he sees your style as far as your friendliness and you're willing to help people who are new, and he's pairing them up with you because he's I'm guessing, betting that you have good odds about bringing somebody back and to stick with it.
Yeah, I try. There's a couple of people that I'll message every once in a while. It's like, hey, haven't seen you in a while. You gonna show up to the mats? Or they're like, oh no, not tonight. Like, my friend Jeremiah, actually, he's my tutor right now for my math class, and he hasn't been on the mats in a while. And so every time I see him, I was like, are you coming to the mats tonight? He's like, no. And, he's got another class too, so that's a big part of it. But so hopefully he'll come back next quarter when his work schedule will let him.
You mentioned that you feel like your team is full of brothers instead of just friends, and I know what you mean on that, because there is a difference there. Casual friends, you get to know them even years go by, and yeah, they're your friends, they're your buddies, but it's different in jiu-jitsu. You do build that brotherhood, sisterhood, where my friends, I'm nice to my friends. My people that I feel like they're my brothers or my sisters, not actually related, but on the mat, like I do pick on them somewhat. Like there's a different type of relationship there. You're okay to pick on each other, have fun at each other's expense, and really have fun. But then it also goes the other way, where if somebody's picking on that person, I gotta probably like it'll defend that part of the family there. So I think that's an interesting relationship, and I could definitely see Jiu-Jitsu encouraging that sort of family style of relationship amongst people who you've known for even just a few months. That kind of that brotherhood or sisterhood type of relationship. What would you say to somebody who was in your similar shoes that you were? Let's put them back in high school. High school's a tough time. I don't know anybody who really coasted through high school and feels like, yeah, that was fun. But put a kid in high school and they're in your similar shoes and having kind of a tough time. What would you say that should they try jiu-jitsu? What would you say as far as if they're listening to you now?
Oh, definitely. Jiu-Jitsu has changed so many lives for the better. It just really puts this positive outlook onto you. It kind of forces you to look at the positives. Like my good friend and coach Jeremy said, it likes to say, Jiu-Jitsu is about trying to make things at least 1% better. You're in a really bad position. If you think about how you're going to try to get out, you can panic sometimes. So you just try to think, how can I make this at least 1% better? And that turns to 5%, 10%, 15%, and it just gets a little bit more better. And so with that kind of conditioning and training, mentally, you tie that into real life. How can I make this outcome that I don't like? How can I make this situation at work 1% better instead of trying to find a way to get out of it? Like fleeing the scene kind of thing. You don't want to run out and fly away. You want to stay there and work through it. And so that's just really helped my mental game. I'm stronger mentally. I'm more happy. I'm a more positive person. I'm not as shy anymore. I'm more comfortable meeting new people versus, 3 years ago when I would have died and puked when I had to go meet a new person.
Yeah, I could see Jiu-Jitsu making somebody a lot less shy. It's kind of interesting because your coach is kind of putting you in that role to where you're meeting a new person all the time. When somebody comes in, a lot of times you get paired up with that person, and it's not like you shake hands and exchange names. You shake hands and you're on the mat with somebody, and you're doing different techniques and that sort of thing. And it's hard to be shy, when you're showing somebody how to do a triangle choke or a sweep or something like that. You quickly get out of that. And I think it also helps with shyness is that you're in your environment. So yes, if it's your first day in Jiu-Jitsu, you'll be a little shy. This isn't where you're comfortable, where you're used to being. But once that becomes your home, the people come to you in your home, and this is where you're comfortable, and you get to meet people. And I could see Jiu-Jitsu being a great vehicle to help you develop people skills, and if any people kind of get a little funny with you, offensive skills, it is a great self-defense, obviously. And I think that what got you, here you went to self-defense class, you're interested in that. We've talked about it a lot. We really haven't talked about self-defense, but I know your self-defense has gotten a lot better, obviously, with Jiu-Jitsu. You're competing, you're training hard, you're on the mat with these big, tough guys, and you're getting a lot of benefits out of Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, no, I really am. I'm also, learning how to teach too. Like how I said earlier, my coaches that came together, they teach at different academies, different affiliations. Jeremy's under Checkmat and Luis is through Gracie Baja. But they come together to teach a fundamentals jiu-jitsu class on Big Bend. And so me and my buddies, Joe and Edward, and Frankie and Pancho, we all signed up to take the class together so we can kind of ensure to get the training. But we're also stuck into the position of trying to teach and, help instruct certain moves. We kind of branch out. We pair with different people. I've been helping out the ladies that have taken this class, just with their angles, their hip movements, and how to move, how to do the move. And I'm learning a lot myself by doing that. I'm learning not just how to teach, but to be a mentor, like, for other people. And I'm also picking up on different techniques myself. When I try to explain an angle, I'm like, oh, wait, you actually have to do this. And that helps my game as well. I don't know if that really makes sense, but I'm just learning a lot from that aspect.
I fully believe teaching something is also a great way to learn it. If I could teach you most of a technique and then you go share it with somebody else, a lot of times you figure out the rest of it as you're trying to explain it, and well, that's not quite right. How come it's working this way? And that the process of teaching is also part of the learning process. And anybody who's teaching and has an open mind will be learning as they do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to somebody who's a little bit nervous about getting injured? Do you feel safe while you train? Do you feel relatively safe while you compete? Is that a higher risk stepping on the mat to compete than it is just to train? Or tell me a little bit about how you feel about your own personal safety.
Yeah, so I feel very safe when I'm on the mats with my teammates because I know them, they know me, they know about my injury. I feel confident that they will remember about my injury. When I roll with new people, I always tell them about my arms, like, hey, be careful with this arm. It's very brittle, it'll break if you tweak it, just one little small move. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they'll always forget. I know that they will forget. They almost always do. And so in the middle of the roll, they'll start attacking that arm, and I just tap, and they're like, oh, but I didn't have it. I'm like, yeah, but you were, attacking my bad arm. And then they're like, oh, that's right. And so, just that communication is very key. If you have, any kind of injury, you want to let your sparring partner know about it. But I do feel safe. I do feel safe on the mats with my people. It's a different story when I go out to compete in tournament because, a lot of time your opponent is out to win. They're out to get you. They want that. They want to take that home, that medal, and you do too, of course. But, so they will do, kind of anything really to get that medal. But like you were saying earlier, and this is true everywhere I've been, at least with all of my experiences, everyone is very friendly in the sport. They care about you. They care about themselves, or they care about everyone, really. They're good about safety. They don't want to, injure their opponent. They just like how you don't want to get injured yourself. And so, they'll take that into account and they'll respect that you can't do certain things and, they'll respect what you ask. But, I always have that fear that they're going to forget in the middle of the roll. They'll get excited when they have a position. They'll try to finish it, really fast. So one tournament, I actually told the ref and they're like, okay, well, we need to mark this arm. So they put tape or a yellow band around my arm, or especially on the elbow. That way my opponent will remember not to armbar it too much when we roll. But with this class that at the college that I'm attending that my coaches are teaching, there are certain people that I haven't rolled with yet. And we're getting later in the quarter, so I feel more confident or comfortable to roll with them. But there's just certain people that you can tell that they're out to get people, if you understand. They have a really big ego. They're there to show off. I don't like to roll with those people. You can kind of tell who they are. They just have that look, or they're really rolling hard with everyone else. And so when one of those people or when someone like that asks to roll with me, I do get very nervous. I get kind of afraid for my own safety just because I don't want them to hurt me. And usually these are guys twice my size, 3 times my size heavier. I'm very light. They're in the 200-pound range. I'm barely in the 100 range. And so I do get a little bit nervous or afraid. And my coaches and my teammates, they actually see that and they recognize it. At first, I'm like, yeah, okay, let's roll. And then I didn't really realize that there was a safety issue there. And so that's when my teammates really stepped up and like, actually, no, you're going to roll with me, bro. Or just roll with someone else instead. And I didn't really pick up on that until recently when I started thinking more about it. But yeah, there's just certain times when I do fear for my own safety, but not often. And so I guess if someone is asking me about that, oh, well, I don't feel safe, then I would just simply tell them, then don't roll with them. If you don't feel safe rolling with someone, then you have every right to say, no, you don't want to roll with them. And then that's when I'll kind of say, oh, just roll with me. We'll go light, we'll go your own speed and pace and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think you said a lot there, but if you don't want to roll with somebody, it could be anybody. You could be the big 250-pound guy. If you don't want to roll with somebody, just tell them no. I mean, nobody has to roll with anybody else. And definitely, If you are not comfortable rolling with somebody, no, thank you. Or I would even go as far as, I just saw you roll the last round. I'm going to pass on that. Like you're trying to kill somebody out there. Like I don't have a problem saying that, and there are a couple people that I don't roll with because I think my chance of injury skyrockets with a couple of people. So there you go. I don't, and I've been training since 2002. So if I'm declining people, and it's not like, there's a difference when they're on your team because you have to address that. But if you're like maybe at open mat, and like, no thanks, man, not today. And if they have questions, I'll tell them. I feel like my chances of getting hurt with you is pretty high, and my big thing is I don't want to get hurt. I want to keep training, and I want to have a healthy body, and and I've looked, and if they argue, I'll kind of like, well, look, you injured that guy over there, you broke that guy's rib, and you could just say, I just saw you rolling with that guy, a bit intense for training. You might take a step down a bit, and maybe we'll roll next time or something like that. But yeah, I think, and that is a big thing, is to trust your instincts. If you're nervous about rolling with somebody, listen to that. You're picking up on cues that you may not be fully aware of and be able to actually verbalize, but your people are very observant, and trusting the instinct is a great thing. If your gut's telling you, I should not roll with this person, that's probably a good idea. Mm-hmm. So I'm big on safety on the mats, and part of that, it is part of having that good team. Your teammates were stepping in and saving you from having to have that awkward conversation. Hey, no, you're rolling with me today, buddy.
Yeah.
And that's just part of having a good team, and they were able to do that for you. That's awesome. Jess, our time is running a little bit short, but we got still has plenty of time here. Anything else you want to talk about to people who are listening?
Yeah, I just want to thank a lot of people who've helped me out. My coaches, my teammates, God's helped me out a lot too. It's just crazy to see how he works. When I was going to the self-defense seminar, almost 3 years ago, I was very shy. I didn't want to go. My friend told me about it, but I just feel like he was telling me, you should go to this. And so I went, and I was the only person there, and I got the great experience, that got me into Jujitsu. But the people who he sent me with, with Jeremy and Luis, they're Christian men, they're devoted to God, and it's amazing to see how he just puts those people in your life, So they've helped me with Jiu-Jitsu, with life, and, just with my journey with God. And so I had to thank God, because he's put all these things into perspective and put these things into my life. And I really think that he's got a good plan for me through Jiu-Jitsu. And then, of course, I just want to thank my teammates. Breakpoint, I am an ambassador for Breakpoint. And so they kind of helped me out with the deals. They gave me the discount offer, the big tournament that I was competing in. So my team, 2 years ago, my coach, Luis, and his brother, Victor, they created the Positive Change Scholarship. And so my team does a lot of community work to fund the scholarship for the college I'm going to. This year, I think we're trying to get the scholarship funds to be $2,000 for next year's student. And so we do a lot. We do barbecues, we go out into the community. We just do a lot of things together as a team for the scholarship. We're promoting positive change. That's the scholarship name. So we usually pick someone who is trying to change their lives for better. That's all what Jiu-Jitsu is about. And so we're trying to put that into real life. And so we're actually going to be teaching kids classes here soon. And so we're going to be teaching kids classes, and all the funds that comes from those kids classes, they're not going to go back into the gym. They're going to go for this scholarship. And so I think that's just a really wonderful thing that's going on. And I just wanted people to know about that. So thanks, Luis, for putting that together.
Jess, it sounds like I always say that Jiu-Jitsu helps you on and off the mat, but your team is helping everybody on and off the mat, and that's awesome.
Everything's about teamwork,
I look back at the day you did the self-defense class, and this may be more of a message about for the coaches and instructors out there. 2 guys were given a self-defense seminar, and 1 person showed up. and they gave an awesome self-defense seminar. You know what? How much would you have faulted them if they said, you know what, it looks like it's canceled. We didn't even get 10 people to be here today. Like you would, okay, I'm going home. But they showed up. One person was interested, and they gave it, 110%. And now look at you. Like, so grateful they did that. But that just speaks to their character. If you're a coach and you have one person show up to class today, have an awesome class. If you're teaching a seminar to somebody or you have one new, make it count. It has ripple effects on people down the road. And looking at you, Jess, you're doing great.
Thank you very much.
Where could people follow you on social media?
My Instagram is public. It's kind of a funky name. It's just Jess Munter. Kind of like the old TV show, The Munsters. Yeah. So my last name is Munter. I just kind of put an S in there. Jess Munter. That's my Instagram. Or you can, friend me on Facebook, Jess Munter. I've got my podium picture up as my profile picture. And, that's how you can find me.
I'm looking here on your Instagram account, and you got a lot of fun pictures, but it looks like you had one with Kyotera. How was meeting him and going to his seminar?
Yeah, no, that was actually really cool. I'm grateful that he took the time to come out to the desert of Washington. If you don't know, Eastern Washington is literally a desert. But he was here for 2 days. He did the first seminar at Quincy BJJ, and then the second day he was at Big Bend, the college I go to. It was really fun. He has a lot of solid techniques, and he really helped me figure out some moves that I can do with, one hand. It's kind of funny. The first seminar, he was walking around, after showing a technique, and he kind of stumbles upon me. He's like, "You're doing it wrong." And it's like, oh, well, I can't use that hand, so I'm really not doing it wrong. But I don't think he realized that until afterwards. But that was pretty funny.
Yeah, kind of put his foot in his mouth on that one. No, I'm actually doing it the best I can. Thank you. But I think that's so everyone's jiu-jitsu journey is different, and clearly yours is unique to you. I think it's important for these adaptive athletes that are doing jiu-jitsu to have great coaches, because although they may not fully understand the technique and how to convert it or to how to adapt it to being great to you, they could help with that. And getting exposure to guys like Kyo, if anybody could see jiu-jitsu a little differently and really, hey, try this. How would this work for you? And just kind of plant a seed in your head. And a lot of your game is going to be figuring things out, how it works for you. But having those great coaches and great seminars and people coming in and helping you will really help speed that along. But I think everybody has to figure out jiu-jitsu for themselves, some degree. But I don't know. I think that getting those, having the great coaches you have, getting some exposure to one of the best jiu-jitsu athletes in the world, that is awesome too.
Yeah, no, and since you're on my Instagram, you can see that I recently went to a Girls and Geese event at Foster Academy. That was so much fun. I learned so much from the ladies there. And if any ladies are listening right now, maybe you aren't in jiu-jitsu, these Girls and Geese events are a great way to start, because you're with females only, there's no guys around. So that's a little bit more comforting for females, just getting into this. But everyone's friendly. You're there just to teach. It's not competitive at all. And it's a great way to make new friends. And so I just kind of wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, that's a great organization, and we've had some members talk about them before. That being said, you don't have to go in and think that eventually you'll train with the guys. If you go to a school that has a girls' team, you don't need to have that in the back of your head as well. In a week I got to convert over and start rolling with these big, sweaty guys. It could happen if you want it to. Not that sounds appealing, but for you, you're the only girl there at your school, and you're in that situation. But you definitely will help any girl that steps in the door likely to stick with jiu-jitsu way more than if you weren't there. But I see a roadblock for a lot of women. Like, well, even if there's the girls that roll with, I don't want to roll with the guys. Well, then don't. Just go to jiu-jitsu and, maybe call or make a little Facebook group of which class you're going to go to this week or whatever, and go and train with them and make that happen. And, some people become comfortable with guys. Some people don't. You can still do jiu-jitsu either way.
Yeah, and I haven't had any girls, express that they just want to roll with me before, but I have mentioned that, for new girls coming in, it's like, hey, I know you may not be comfortable rolling with these smelly guys, so if you want, you can just roll with me. I'll teach you the techniques that I learned. We can meet one-on-one, work together and such. So, I kind of always mention that to the ladies I meet, especially when I'm trying to encourage someone new to come into the gym. I'll tell them, it's like, oh, well, you don't have to roll with the guys, you and I can work one-on-one. We got access to the mats, I got the keys, let's go.
Man, that is awesome. Jess, with your team there in everything, it sounds like you get a lot of great support. Do you have any sponsors, or are you looking for maybe a sponsor to help you out?
I do not have a sponsor. I am an ambassador through Breakpoint, but, it's not a sponsorship. I am looking for a sponsorship. It would help me out so much, especially since, I'm from a low-income family. I work 2 jobs to support my family, so I don't get a lot of that money back into my own pocket. So yes, I would love a sponsor. However, I think it's a lot harder for a white belt to find a sponsor because, I am just a white belt right now. So I think that has a large factor in who will pick up, white belt as a sponsored athlete.
That's, that is part of it. But talking to you for about an hour today, you communicate very well. You speak well. You're very positive. I think you'd be a great athlete for somebody to sponsor and to get behind. A lot of times these companies will sponsor, black belts or, world-class athletes, and they don't really help them very much. The athletes could care less, but I think a good company that wants to get behind you, support you and what you're doing, that would be fantastic. And we'd love to hear that happening. If anybody wants to get a hold of me, I'll pass the message to you, or, and you also gave your social media contacts and that sort of thing as well. But we have a very aspiring, motivational athlete here, and she's going to go far in jiu-jitsu, and she's going to help her team a lot. And I think you'd be a great person to sponsor.
Thank you so much. I would really appreciate a good sponsorship.
Jess, thank you so much for being on the show with me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me.
Big thank you to Jess for stepping up and coming on the show and talking with us. And like I said, congratulations for the blue belt. She got that since the interview. She's very motivational. She is looking, I know we have some gi companies and some different apparel companies that listen. If you want to sponsor an athlete, you can't do wrong with Jess. You have an up-and-coming athlete, very motivational story behind her. She speaks very well. She'd be good at promoting any brand. So give her some contact info, or give her a shout. And be cool to work with her. So she's looking for some help, and she wants to do great things in the sport and with other people. So helping her out would be cool. Gary, this week we've got a fun article from our friend at the BJJMentalCoach.com, Gustavo Dantas. That's his website, and he's, I'm impressed by his site. He's putting stuff up pretty consistently, always very good content. And he's got a post that's about 3 proven methods for gaining self-discipline,
which we could all use, especially as we're talking about, the new year, to help us with our resolutions.
Yeah, and self-discipline really makes life easier. And if you just think about this example, if you go to the store and you buy a bunch of cookies and you bring them home and you put them on your table and you see them throughout the day, you're going to have to resist that a lot. That takes a lot of discipline. But the workaround would be to just not buy those at the store. And suddenly you don't have to think about resisting those cookies. You don't have to okay, I just won. No, they're not there. And that's an easy way. Having the discipline at the store makes the whole situation, the diet and the home life, easier because they're not there in front of you. And that's the first tip, is remove temptations. And that would be out of sight, out of mind. So if there's something that you're trying to to defeat, and I think with a lot of us, diet is a big deal. Just don't have the stuff in the house is the easiest way. And if you have a family and they like to eat the cookies all the time, that's an easy example. Try to get them to cut back, or to maybe just eat them when you're not around. Still, if you're the one going to the store buying the cookies, that could change very easily. Switch them out for some healthier snacks. So,
some healthy cookies.
Like an apple or a banana, or just something else. Just replace it.
That is good. Tip number 2 from Gustavo: don't wait for it to feel right. To improve our self-discipline, we have to change up our normal routine. Byron, you probably have a normal routine. You go to Jiu-Jitsu on certain days. I go to Jiu-Jitsu on certain days. But when we change up our routine, it's awkward. It's uncomfortable. It's something that, we're not used to. And, he goes and, talks about, habits of behavior are in a certain part of the brain, and talks a little bit about that. But, he says when a behavior becomes a habit, we stop our decision-making skills. And, we just function on autopilot. It just happens. But breaking a bad habit and having a good habit, not only requires us to make decisions to get to that point, it doesn't feel right. Like I stated earlier, it's uncomfortable. And, it's going to feel wrong. It's going to feel awkward. It's not something you really want to do. Your brain's going to resist that. You've been doing it for so long. To change it, your brain's going to resist it. And what you need to do is understand that it's going to feel wrong. Embrace the wrong, as Gustavo says. It's going to take a while for the new norm to feel right and to feel good, to feel natural. But the biggest thing is, and we talk about this all the time, keep chugging along, keep pushing forward. Don't let anything stop you. It's going to happen. Sooner or later, it's going to feel right. It's just going to take some time. So, it's repetition. It's doing it, not stopping, getting that practice in, that repetition, and pretty soon it's just going to feel it's going to be the new right. So definitely don't wait for it to feel right.
Yep. Your body and your brain will have changes. An easy example would be smoking. Having never smoked, I can't come to like a complete authority on this, but when you stop smoking...
Maybe you should start. Try it.
When you stop smoking, it's hard. That day is miserable and you're craving, and then at a certain point, I don't know if it's weeks or months or even years, but it's not an issue. You no longer crave nicotine. You don't want a cigarette, and you're done with it. And that's the new normal. And you have to get to that point. And once you're there, you don't crave that soda pop. You don't crave that cigarette or whatever else you're trying to change as far as changing a habit. The last thing he has on here is forgive yourself. This is a big one. And move forward. So you have a new thing that you want to do. You've decided to quit this bad habit, and you're going for 2 weeks and you're doing really good, and then certainly it's possible. Okay, I slipped up today. I had a Dr. Pepper or smoked a cigarette or whatever it might be.
Or a Marlboro.
Forgive yourself and move on. Go back to where you were. If you dwell on it and make a big deal out of it, you feel guilty. You get angry. You get frustrated. Those type of emotions really don't help you build your self-discipline, and it can cause a negative effect on your whole goal. Just say, I made a mistake today. I'm not particularly proud of it. I need to get back on track to where I was. I had a really good 2 weeks. Let's do it again. And that's the correct path to getting back to where you want to be. Cool article here. And he kind of cites back to another article, but that's, man, every time I go to the BJJ Mental Coach, there's always cool stuff on there. We'll put a link to this on the show notes. Go check it out. And he's got a lot of other things that will help you improve your jiu-jitsu, especially the mental side.
Yeah, and also check our previous guests, because we did have Gustavo on previously. So, check out that episode also.
Gary, I want to thank our newest Patreon subscriber, Ramus Nolhage, I believe. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, but that's the best I could do. I'm not the best at names. And Ramus is from Sweden, I believe. Just sent out the gi patch yesterday, so hopefully you've got that by now, if not very soon. Ramus, thank you so much. What Ramus has done is said, hey, I like this podcast. It really means a lot to me. I want to help these guys do what they're doing and help them invest more into the show. And he has signed up. He's going to give us $1 every episode. So you go to patreon.com. There's a link to it in the show notes, a little video explaining it. And every episode that comes out at the end of the month, he's, 4 weeks go by, $4, and it goes to us. And it really helps this show become what it is now and grow.
Yeah, definitely. Our Patreon supporters, we couldn't be where we are right now without them. We're at episode 220. We've had some setbacks along the way. We've talked about it before, being hacked, and there's no way, we would have been back on, as quick as we were. It takes money to fix that stuff. And, without the support of our Patreon supporters, we would have never been there. And so thank each and every one of you. We really appreciate it. And it's, it's so awesome that we've got people helping us out.
Yeah, and when you sign up and support us, we'll send you out a 5-inch BJJ Brick gi patch and a couple of stickers as a token of our thanks. And also, you're eligible to get in our BJJ Brick private group. Just the easiest way is to send me an email at bjbrick@gmail.com, or just add me as a friend on Facebook and say that you're the newest member of Patreon. My name is Byron Jabara. There's only one of me that I know of, and I'll add you to the group.
Isn't it funny how when you're trying to find somebody, like say Byron Jabbar or somebody else you met through Jiu-Jitsu, and you just plug the name in, and you're looking at all the people with the same names, but then you see a picture of somebody in a gi.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's the guy.
The one. That's it right there.
Yeah, it's easy to find us Jiu-Jitsu people, just based off the profile pictures.
Yep.
Even though mine has nothing to do with it, and it doesn't work for me.
It doesn't. Right now, I don't have one of Jitsu either, but it changes from time to time.
I change them all the time. So, and I guess I need to get my game back and change it.
Yeah.
But,
we're talking about social media. We are on social media, and we definitely have a lot of fun there. Facebook is our biggest page that we have. Find BJJ Brick on Facebook, like the page, and it's a fun way to keep up with us. Also, our YouTube is ever growing. We are putting little clips from the show on there. We're putting videos, reviews of products are always popping up and helping you guys decide what's right for you. And a lot of fun on YouTube. Also have a Twitter and, basically most social media that you're going to have. What's the Instagram? We can be found on Instagram as well. So there we go, Gary. There's some social media stuff. We also have an app. If you like, we have an app. If you like some bonus content, find our app in the App Store, BJJ Brick, and download it and look for our bonus content that is found nowhere else but there.
Speaking of the bonus content, do we have the bonus round coming up, Byron?
Yes, we do. I'm excited.
I'm not. Speaking of the bonus round, next week, Kit Dale. Definitely an incredible grappler, funny guy. You definitely don't want to miss it. Make sure you tune in to episode 221 with Kit Dale.
Yep. It's like Gary said, it's funny, or he's funny. He's got a lot going on, and he has some interesting ideas about Jiu-Jitsu and learning Jiu-Jitsu that I learned a lot talking to Kit Dale, and I think you will too, just listening to the conversation. Gary, so 2 years ago, we had a Coach of the Year. We got like 1 million essays in, and they were very... they were stories, and it was a real big deal.
We really had a million?
Not quite 1 million. We had several dozen, and we just had a lot of heart-touching stories, and we had a lot of really great stuff. And December came around, and was like, let's do it again. And I take responsibility. I don't think I had it really in my agenda like I did last year to promote it. We got a few entries in. I showed it to a couple of the judges from last year, and they really couldn't get behind anything and make a decision as far as one standing out from the crowd. And definitely some good coaches there, but the consensus was that this year we're probably going to hold off and not do a Coach of the Year, unfortunately. Thanks for the people that did submit them. definitely some people that have been put on our radar as far as potential people to get on the show. But, the overall thought is that we had several coaches nominated last year that had better, I guess, essays. And this year we wanted somebody to stand out from the crowd. And although we got some cool highlights of people, nobody really stood out from anybody and had a story that was really like touching, or they just stood out from the rest of them. So we're going to hold off this year on that. But thanks for those that did send in essays. Your coach is now on our radar more than before. And we're always looking to get new people on the show.
So basically you're saying the hour I spent writing that paragraph to you, about you, as my coach, it did not work. I didn't win.
Yeah. Gary, I don't think you've ever written a paragraph at all for the Jiu-Jitsu Wise. So I'll call you on that bluff. Gary's an audio guy.
Yeah, maybe that'll be my New Year's resolution.
There you go. Write one paragraph about Jiu-Jitsu, and we'll put it on the blog.
Yeah.
There we go.
I got to learn to write first.
But that wrapped up. We had nothing but fun left on the show, my friend.
Oh, so you're saying we haven't had fun earlier?
No, we've had a lot of fun. Well played,
Byron,
Gary.
Stop complaining, Byron.
Okay, I've been looking forward to this all week. Last time we tried a little Family Feud segment, and we did it all wrong. I was throwing a question at Gary and having him try to pick all the different answers out. And that's basically really hard to do because you could think of one good answer and then maybe the second one. And then it's like, I don't know. So the proper way to play the Family Feud here, and we're going to try this and see how you guys think if it was worth it, is to play the Fast Money segment where I'll ask the question, you throw out your best answer and move on to the next question. And we do this in like a minute.
Yeah, I thought it's 20 seconds, Byron.
20 seconds.
Or 25 if I go second.
Okay, you'll go a second.
So you don't even watch the show.
I'm not the fastest reader either, so that'll give you time to think. Put 2.5 days on the clock. Are you ready, Gary, for Fast Money?
I'm ready, Steve.
And there's no money involved, so we got this going on.
Okay.
Here we go. Name an occupation a bad driver should avoid.
Uber, taxi.
Name something specific people make reservations for.
Dinner.
Name something that a woman never forgets about her fiancé's marriage proposal.
Where it happened.
Name something that burglars check to see if a family is out of town.
If the shades are pulled down.
Name something people do to corn.
Butter.
Okay. Now, because I'm not taking notes, and that went very fast. But I'm impressed, Gary.
I don't think I did good on
I think you did
burglary
decent. Name an occupation, a bad driver. I believe you said taxi driver.
Taxi driver.
That was the third answer for 21 points. The top one was truck driver, followed by bus driver. Name something people make reservations for. You say dinner?
Dinner.
Number one answer, Gary. Congratulations for 35 points.
Oh, thank you.
Name something about the fiancé's proposal. I believe you said location.
Yes,
is that right?
Happened.
The place. That was the second answer. Number one answer would have been the way he asked her.
Oh, I was going to say the ring. So
the size of the ring is the third answer. And I hope you're all playing along at home too. Name something that a burglar checks to see if family's out of town. This is kind of a self-defense thing. Keep your house from getting broken into. You said something about the shades.
Yeah, pulling the shades down. I got nervous.
I'm looking at it here. That's not on there. I'm going to go with lights off, which is similar category for 21 points. That's the second one. The biggest answer is the males piling up.
Okay.
Name something people do to corn. And this one, when I read that, I'm like, this is funny because it's kind of an odd question to ask somebody.
You know, the first thing that popped in my head is probably not good to say on the show. But then I was like, because I didn't totally understand the question. Yeah, put it in the tailpipe. But I was, then I was like, butter. That could actually make it easier in the tailpipe too.
You did great answers, Gary. I am impressed. And I'm totaling up your tally here. You got 118. So
man, that's better than most people get. But you want to know why I did better than most people? Because of the confidence I've gained from jiu-jitsu. I'm comfortable in uncomfortable places, which is being on the fast money round.
That's true. Butter was actually the worst answer. So that's the only bad answer you gave was butter.
I did butter. What else do you do? What do you do to corn? You eat it?
Pop it.
Okay.
Boil it.
Who boils corn? Oh, boil. Okay, eat it.
Cook.
But you put butter on it. I
Yeah.
was thinking of corn on the cob. I butter it.
Yeah, pop is the number one answer for 41 points. But your answer of butter gave you 4 points.
Okay.
You still had 118 points. So your other answers were that strong that butter still came away
Yeah.
that good.
I actually thought that was a good one. I
It
thought I
is
was gonna
decent. I think so too.
score
Because
high.
you could
Yeah.
butter popped corn too.
Was there anything about putting it in the tailpipe?
It's not that type of an episode of Family Feud, Gary.
Okay.
But that was
That would be on Family Rude.
man. That's one of Gary's favorite jiu-jitsu moves is corn cob in the tailpipe. Can't really describe it over the podcast. Don't really want to either.
No wonder nobody trains with me,
That's true. Make it tough sometimes.
except for Byron.
Let us know what you think of the Family Feud segment. If you played along or had a good time, maybe we'll continue. If you thought it was kind of awkward and not jiu-jitsu related, which it probably was. But, this is a changeable thing that we could do. But we want to know what you think. We'll be happy to
Definitely
keep
let
going.
us know.
I had fun.
I had fun. It was it's definitely better than me trying to make something up real quick. So
I'm looking forward to the
I
time when
enjoyed
you give a terrible answer.
it'll happen.
Yeah, that'll be the best one yet. So we'll
But
probably do it again for a week or
I will
so and
keep
see if we get any traction from the audience.
Yeah. But even if I do give a terrible answer, I'll follow Gustavo's advice and keep moving forward.
There you go. Fun episode this week. Stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower and butter your corn.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.